And now,
introducing the one, the only.
Let me introduce to you
lively talk with successful people, barely filtered. This is the Jenna Ben Show.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to the Jenna Ben Show, guys. I'm your host, Jenna Benamy. And with us today, we have UFC middleweight with a record of 7-2. Welcome the Cuban Missile Crisis, Julian Marquez. How's it going, bud?
Oh, it's golden day, you know. I'm happy. I'm here, and it's Sunday, fun day, you know.
Sunday, fun day. Yeah, I dig it. Okay, so you live in Vegas, but you train in Kansas City, or vice versa? How does it go?
Yeah, I live in Vegas, Las Vegas, and since this pandemic, it really altered a lot of stuff going on. Like when the heat of it was happening in June, not a lot of places were letting you come and train. Not a lot of places were, you know, or people wanted to be around other people. So I was like, well, I need to find somewhere. And I came back home to Kansas City, and, you know, Missouri, people really don't, I don't want to say people don't care, but it wasn't as strict as it was like on the West Coast. So I came back here in Kansas City, and I've been training, and I had multiple camps here. So I haven't been able to come back to Vegas to call home for a minute.
Interesting. Because so we met at Xtreme Couture, but then doing some research on you, it looks like you actually train at Syndicate, and I know those guys too. Is that true, or? Well,
when I first moved out to Vegas like 5 years ago, I started with Syndicate. And then, you know, over the years, things started like branching apart. I went off on a different realm, and I just started jumping to train with everyone. Because in Vegas, like, you'll have one practice at Xtreme will have no light guys or no bigger guys, but all of them would be at Syndicate, and vice versa. At Syndicate, all the people would be over there. So it was just like, and I needed to get what I needed for myself to get better. So I just kind of went around, and I've been friends with Eric Nixick for a long time, and a lot of the people there at Xtreme. So they're always welcoming to let me come in and train with them. Same thing as 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu in Las Vegas. And same thing as Syndicate, you know, like.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. I went to lunch with Eric the day that I met you, and I was telling him like, oh, I'm going to stop by Syndicate because the gloves I was just showing you from JoJo Calderwood, you know, I was going to meet her and pick them up. And then he was like, oh, Syndicate's right there. Cause the Thai place we went to was like 3 doors down from Syndicate. And I was like, oh, well, let's pop in and say hi. Cause I'm like not understanding that he's like, I can't walk in there. And I was like, why not? You're not cool with them. He's like, no, but it's like, it's a respect thing. You can't walk into another, you know, like, cause he's the head guy at Xtreme. He's like, John Wood would probably not be happy with me. And John's the nicest guy. And I told him, and he had a good laugh, and he was like, no, it's fine. But you know,
yeah, it's just that politics goes way back to before I was even part of what happened. But you know, I don't think either one of them would care if the other person walked in there or not. Like, you know, they both benefit each other. They both help each other out, Syndicate and Xtreme, when it comes to even the local shows like Tough Enough there. A lot of the guys compete against each other, and they're two good, solid gyms. But I don't have any, like, I wasn't part of that like politics back in the day. So it doesn't matter to me. I can go from each one of them, and I'm friends with both of them, but I understand where Eric and John are if they don't walk into each other's gyms. It makes sense.
Yeah. Here on the Jenna Ben Show, we dive into my guest stories, basically allowing the listeners to get to know you as the man behind the fighter that you are. So you are 30 years old now, but take us way back to when you were a kid growing up in Kansas City, Missouri. What were you like? Like, were you shy? Were you ADD'd out? Were you a bully? Were you bullied?
Oh man, that's crazy. I haven't really thought of myself back and then. I was probably like the biggest troublemaker you'll ever meet. I'm absolutely completely polar opposite of who I am today. Wow. I was just the class clown, the guy that always had something to say, the guy that always like seeked for some sort of attention by like talking, by jumping, doing crazy stuff. You know, I wasn't really shy. I could do anything. Like, I had no fear, and it still rings to today. Like, I still don't have any fear, but I made a lot of bad decisions as a kid growing up, and caused a lot of, you know, caused my path to be who I am today. Let's put it like that.
So you terrorized your parents, basically?
Yeah, I definitely put a lot of gray hairs on both their heads at the time. and a lot of frustration with our family attorney and everything. So,
Oh my God, it got serious.
yeah, I was a bad kid for sure. But I mean, nothing like crazy serious, but it definitely, let's just say like the police station and all the police officers in the town knew who I was by first and last name. And my parents. But like this, when the school had an incident, like someone like TP'd the school, someone stole the high school football coach's mailbox and put it on the 50-yard line. Whenever someone like were to put stink bombs and stuff, I was the first person to get called every time. That's just like how like my
But it
repetition.
was you
Yeah.
every time.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Oh,
me.
okay.
It wasn't me. Like for like put it like this, my freshman year of high school, I streaked my homecoming football game. I was in a
Okay.
man thong and I ran right across from it. And even to the point where I didn't get busted, but people told on me, to where it was the first person to ever do something like that. So every year after that, they made me sit next to the principal. I had like to show up to the games, and I had to sit next to the principal on the games because they thought I would do that again, which
You're
I
a
ended up
liability.
again the
Yeah.
moment they let me not. But yeah, that's me right there.
Wow. Well, you're not shy. I've seen, it was probably Photoshop because I doubt you were naked in the cage, but I, I saw a photo of you with like the blurred out area over your junk.
Absolutely. I do it all the time. I always find some great photos that I can do and edit that in. They're not really naked, but you would be amazed my DMs on how many people really believe that that happened. Like what promotion would allow you to fight naked?
Mhm.
Yeah. And if I ever started an OnlyFans, I know I'll have a whole bunch of support. Like,
That's amazing.
yeah.
Well, I bet that's spillover from so you have a podcast. We're kind of going out of order, but so you have a podcast, and tell us about it.
It's Beauty and the Beast podcast. It's with adult film star Kendra Lust and a good friend of mine. And we just kind of like wing it. We go out there and we talk about everything from sex, politics, betting, sports, drama, like this whole Kanye and Kim thing. We've been just kind of texting back and forth about it, and just all the crazy stuff with Jeffree Star. And we will sit there and get on there and we'll just talk what we feel like we are interested at the time, and then just go from there. And sometimes we pick out some like cute people that we think would be beasts of the week or beauty of the week. So it's just a fun little
That's
laid back
cute.
podcast.
Yeah. Okay. So I wonder if some of her audience and fans and, demographics spill over your way, and maybe you get some of that love. And I think I read through some of the comments and people are wondering if you guys have anything going on, but you're saying you're just friends.
Oh no, we have been friends for quite a while now. And she's married too. Like most people don't really understand this, that like they think that if you slide into a porn star or an adult film star's like DMs and like try to go after them, like they're gonna have sex with someone. They're not gonna just have sex with random people and just anybody. And it doesn't matter if you have a blue check mark. You'd be amazed by how many athletes I see in her DMs. She shares them, and like some people that you would be shocked of like how their approach is. And like, I'm talking about some high level people, to where they think it's okay to like, oh, she's just like, oh yeah, since I'm a porn star, I'm absolutely okay with you DMing me these words so we can meet up. Like, no.
Wow.
But no, we were friends, but her following attacks me because every time like we get together, I always like take a photo of me choking her, and everyone thinks like I'm harming her and they like freak out. So it's absolutely hysterical.
I saw that in one of your stories. You're like, oh, people are going to hate on me so hard for this.
oh, you have no, like I get hate mail, even though like they know that her and I are friends. I get hate mail like, don't you ever touch Kendra?
Oh my God.
Be like, why are you touching my future wife? And I'm just like, Jesus, dude, chill. It's like, I will come to your house and kill you. Like, I'm like, whoa, dude.
It's insane.
Don't watch a film with her in there getting beat up or anything. Like, come on.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So, when you said that she shares these DMs, does she share them like on her actual page or stories, or just with you privately?
Just with me privately. Like we talk back and forth. I mean, we have like a real close relationship. And her husband, which we call Professor X, is the nickname we gave him on the podcast. Well, we all just kind of like mingle back and forth, and they'll send me photos. Like sometimes they'll send me photos of what people would send them, like send her. Like I'll open up emails because I will like read for content. And like he sends me or she sends me like dick pics and things like that. And I'm just like, I don't want to see this.
Yeah.
But they think it's just hilarious because you have these really like terrible, like they're nasty. You know, like I'm telling you, people that don't bathe or people that think that they're just shooting their shot and they think Kendra will want to see it. So Kendra now gets more humor because they send them to me. And then I'll just open up the deal trying to read like, all right, what are we doing this week? What are we talking about? And then boom, some random penises on my screen. I'm like, Jesus.
It's like the last thing any straight guy wants to see, or probably any guy, because it's unsolicited, you know?
It's really weird. Like my, I don't know, like my friend group is so diverse where like, as you see, I have an adult film star as like a good friend and I hold a podcast with. My photographer for the past 3-4 years and like real good friends is a Black gay man. So a lot of the stuff that he posts of me, he has a giant following called the Bear Mag, which it has over 80,000 followers and it's about bears, which I look like a bear. So a lot of his following come after me. So like and my DMs are filled with just a plethora of just, I don't know, different kinds of people, males, females. I get those photos all the time. I'll never click a blurry image on my DMs. It's very, very unique. Very, very unique.
Okay. I want to get back into your story and get to know you. So where did we leave off here? So, okay. So you gave your parents hell. I'm curious, what was your home life like? Like what did your parents do for a living? Paint the picture.
Well, a couple of years ago in 2014, I ended up losing my mom. So she passed, but what she was the best. I mean, I can't even tell you what all she did. She was accounting stuff. But she was very, very well put. She ended up opening up her own business and restaurant towards the end, and everything was good on that side. And the same thing with my dad. But like, I have a very unique style of family, and I didn't really realize this until I got older. So being a Cuban American, a lot of my family members, evaded Cuba and came to the United States. And I think it was like 94 is whenever my family was on the news in Kansas City, Missouri for the first family in Missouri to have all the immediate family members located in one spot that fled Cuba. So like everyone's there. And my household at my dad's house, because my parents were divorced, it was almost like a hotel. Anytime a family member came in, a cousin, second cousin, distant uncle, all that stuff, they came to the United States, it was our family that would get them there, and then they'll host them. We'll host them at the house. So they'll live in our house in like a room, and it would be like the entire family. It could have like, I could have two cousins and their parents living in one room until their father was able to get on their feet and end up getting their own house. And then we'll cycle the next person. So we always had, just different family members coming in. And I had to learn Spanish because you couldn't speak to majority of our family unless you knew Spanish, because they're coming from, Cuba, they don't know English.
Right.
So, that was my household. Our family was just always helping, always at need, always just there for one another. And even when I got older into high school and I'd go over to my dad's, or my dad's and grandparents, you'll wake up in the morning and you go downstairs and it would be random. Like you didn't know who was going to be coming over in the morning, who's going to have coffee, who's going to have breakfast, but it was always someone different, or it was just one of our family members. And we'll have a big breakfast every morning. It could be 5 or 6 people, 10 people that are at breakfast. It could be an entire church. We don't know.
That's so nice.
Gamble. So like everybody was super close. My family's super close. And I didn't really realize this. I thought it was every family that like all my friends and everything like that had the same exact experience, but
right. As kids, we always think that, right?
Absolutely. You didn't realize, like, when you say hello to your parents, you give your mom and dad a hug and a kiss when you say hello. And then when you leave, you give them a hug and a kiss. That was just everything. So when I like would go hang out with my friends at the time, like they wouldn't do that with their family. It's like, oh, I didn't really catch on to it. I didn't
Uh-huh.
realize it. But that's pretty much how the upbringing was. Even on my mom's side, it was the same thing. Like they inherited the same exact side as my dad's side, is that they're just always there for you. They're just a loving
Mm.
family, and it was big. It was warming.
So let me ask you now, you probably got used to a lot of noise in the home, right?
Oh man, it doesn't matter. I am not used to it. I
Oh,
absolutely
I was gonna ask you because I felt like you were exposed to it. So you're probably like you could hear anything and be fine.
absolutely. I definitely, like, I can be in an environment with a lot of noise going on. I can still find and pick and pull, like, you know, people talking, and like switch my hearing. I can listen to you talk. I can listen to somebody beside you talking. Like I can catch on to everything. It's very easy, but it is the most like high stress environment when you're in that, because you'll have, say you have
It's like
10
a lot
family
going
members
on. Yeah.
in 7 different conversations going on, and someone's on the cell phone, and you're just like, you just kind of want to get away.
Okay. Okay. So how did you get into MMA and was the family on board?
Yeah, it was real weird. We started karate, me and my brother, when we were like super young. It had nothing to do with like what got us into MMA, but our my dad like realized like it was me and my brother. My brother was a baseball player. He's a team sport type of person,
Mhm.
and I wasn't. And we found that out in karate. It was like I just didn't like doing what other people had to do. Like I like to be accountable for myself when I'm in there. I like to do my own thing at my own pace, at my own, style. So then my dad wanted me to get into wrestling. And then I
Mm.
followed into wrestling in like 7th or 8th grade. I can't, I think it was 8th grade. Um, I followed in there, and my brother played baseball and basketball. Uh, and I never could do it. I played it when I was kids, but just wrestling resonated with me real well. Well, same thing when I get into the high school, become a bad kid, get expelled, get suspended. So like I would only wrestle, but I would never get to compete. So I literally spent my
Mm.
entire high school career, except for the first half of my freshman year and then my senior year, were the only 2 times I was able to compete in wrestling. The rest of it,
Wow.
I was kicked off the team. I was, you know, expelled from school. I got in too much trouble, which hindered me away. But I was able to get a scholarship my senior year.
Mm.
Then I went to college at Missouri Valley. Still that knucklehead, that dumb little idiot, and I ended up getting my first year. I ended up getting injured at the beginning of uh, wrestling, tore my knee out, and then only wrestled one match or I think 2 matches in college. And then the next year comes and I get kicked out for getting a fight on campus with a guy just being a knucklehead, getting drunk. And then after that, I was like stuck. I'm 22 years old, 21 years old. And I came home and I was going to school and just really had nothing going for me. And one of my buddies that I grew up with wrestling, his name is Mac Bailey, just called me up out of the blue. And this was like the time like Anderson Silva was still in his peak. We're talking like 2000,
Mm.
2009, 2010.
Yeah.
And he called me and was like, yo, I'm picking you up. I'm like, why? He goes, these people want fighters. It was called Grindhouse in Lee Summit, Missouri at the time. And these people want fighters. K-12, yeah, Kids to Leaders Grindhouse. I'm picking you up. You're jumping in the car. I was like, okay, like, all right. Literally just was outside my house. I got out. I didn't know what to bring. I just got, my wrestling gear, get in the car, and we drive 40 minutes out, and we go there, and the rest was pretty much history. Just started falling in love with it. And I didn't tell my parents until I had my first fight, like a couple weeks prior.
Because at that point you were concerned they were going to talk you out of it. I mean, this is crazy.
Absolutely.
Get a real job, benefits, you're going to hurt yourself. What is it going to lead to? All those questions.
Yeah, it was just a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of things that went to it. Like, my dad has a master's degree. My brother has his bachelor's degree. Um, school is real big. And in the 90s, that mentality, like if you grew up in you're going to the college in the 90s, you need a college degree to become something. Like you had to. And that's where my dad's mentality was. Like, he was born in Cuba, so he comes here to the United States and he's like, school, 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 push for school. Like, you need school, you need this. Like, and school wasn't for me, it's just not.
Right.
So going to tell him that I'm starting to fight, even though like our family, like I started watching Pride with my dad when it started in the early 90s. And like we would sit there and watch it. It was only like him and I. My brother never was into it. And then we watch boxing. We'll host boxing events at our house, like big parties. Like when Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd Mayweather fought, I'm telling you, we had 70 people at our house, just like with a cake and everything. Like that was our family. We loved fighting. Our family loves fighting. So telling them that I was gonna fight, and I just got kicked out of college. You know what I mean? I'm back at a community college, and I'm going for the fighting deal. It's like, and financially, I was working 3 jobs at the time. It was very wild. Like I was scared to tell them, almost like until it became something where it was real.
Right, substantial. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's run through your course here. So BFC in 2014 was your pro debut. Then Cage Side in 2015, then Bellator in 2016. You took your first loss, one of 2 only. Combat Americas 2016, again, 2016. Combat Americas LFA 2017. Now here it gets interesting with Dana White's Contender Series in August 2017. And then you were UFC on Fox December 2017. That was a big one. This is what confuses me though, because you went from the Contender Series to UFC on Fox to the Tough season finale in 2018. It's kind of strange movement, right? Because usually, anyway, from the progression I've seen, it's usually like, okay, Contender Series or Tough, and then UFC straight away, but you kind of went out of order a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know how they put that. I think at that time that was it was like more of like a Hispanic style card. If you look at that, there's a lot of Hispanics on that card, and being put on a Tough card like that is real good exposure for someone like me, to where if you put me on the UFC on Fox, there was so many great fights that night.
Right.
Like for you to stand out like that and that type of a fight is very difficult. Even though I did on a very, very exciting fight, it's something like, all right, let's build them up. Let's put them on the Ultimate Fighter, where you got a bunch of new people that are going to look at it. It's going to be on TV, and you can stand out better, because when you have a bunch of people on the Ultimate Fighter card where people watch the TV series and watch that whole deal, you have a different set of exposure, and then you build up. For instance,
more of a, like they follow your journey. So they take more of an interest in you. And
yeah, absolutely. Cause if you look at like Sean O'Malley, when he won his fight, he won his first fight, he won the Contender Series fight, and it was great and everything. And then he took another fight, like it was a big card. I think it was like in Vegas. He ended up winning, and the next one was in Vegas, but it was an Ultimate Fighter. It was the female card with Nicole or Montana versus Matafaris for the 125-pound belt whenever they brought the female division in. That like they put him on that card so he could stand out with his deal. And then after that, when you win, then they start leveling you up because you'll have more views and more building. So I don't think it was a step back. And in all honesty, they're doing it correctly to build you up for the exposure to get people to want to watch you.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. That's something I talk to fighters about. Sometimes you'll hear newer fighters be like, oh yeah, I was on this really big card. I was on this. It was exciting to be on that card. And then I kind of play devil's advocate, and I'm like, but was it good for you to be on that card? Because I know that when I go to watch the fights, I have a good friend who owns a restaurant and bar nearby. And so I always watch the fights there, especially the pay-per-views. And I look at the turnout and I look at like when people arrive, and typically on the bigger cards, people start trickling in for the main event or the main card. But, you know, if you're on the undercard, you know, earlies or prelims, like, you know, you're not really, I feel like on those big cards, people aren't taking the time, where if you're just on like a good, you know, average card, then like you said, you're going to get more love.
Yeah. And it's all about building. So in order for you to make a lot of money in the UFC, in order for you to become somebody like a name, is that you have to have a popularity. Because like you can shoot, there's fighters that can shoot from their first fight all the way to the belt, but no one cares to watch them because no one knows who they are.
Right.
And that's why they have like people that took a longer route. Like, and I look at it like, you know, Kamaru Usman.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch Kamara, he fought, I think 8 times before he even got the opportunity for the belt.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is if you watched him, we see it now, he's great. But like when he first started out, it wasn't like anything. You just watch him and it was like, all right, we know what he's going to do. He's going to take the guy down. You know, he's not really going to strike him. He's going to take him down. He's going to hold him down. He's going to do whatever it can to win, which is absolutely what you do. But that's not the type of fighter that's going to, you know, churn heads like an Israel Adesanya, who's standing up, striking with everyone, making electrifying fights, knockouts, highlight reels, and things like that. So it's easier for Adesanya to move up quicker in the ranks all the way up there to get the pay-per-view points, to where whenever he's the headline of a card, he'll make more money. And if they would have rushed Kamaru Usman to the belt and say he won the belt within 4 fights, no one really is going to be like, oh, I want to watch Kamaru fight. You know what I mean? They're like,
they're not gonna be as pumped to watch and think that it's a suitable match. You know, it is very much a popularity contest. So do you think that that is the reason why we see a good amount of fighters talking trash, because it's almost like the fast track to popularity to get to gaining attention?
I think mainly fight game has changed over the years, but it's still somewhat the same, is that the trash talk has always been there. You know, you got 2 alphas, even on the male and female side, it doesn't matter, saying, I'm going to do this to you. And the other person's like, nah, man, I'm going to do this. So that's where they go. But the problem is that everyone keeps going with the same exact approach, to where it's like, all right, well, I can only say so much of like, you suck. I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to do that to you. Within the other person's like, well, I'm going to do this to you. And that's why you're mama. And then that's why you're daddy. And then they start picking up like personal stuff. Like a lot of these fighters don't have characters. And when you create a character, when you create a marketing strategy, when you create a WWE star, because let's be honest, like the UFC is now WWE, the Bellator even, has to be WWE. If you're not known, no one cares.
Right.
The more you talk, the more, crystal clear you are with your words, the more excitement you bring, the more people are going to want to watch you. You could be a boring fighter, but have a great, mouth, and everybody's going to want to watch. Look at Ben Askren. Ben Askren had 3 fights in the UFC, 2 fights in the UFC. I think, he had Robbie Lawler. No, 3 fights in the UFC. He's 1 and 2 in the UFC, but everyone loves and hates him. And he's a big draw because he can speak, he can talk, he can hype something up. He can be the John Cena or the Stone Cold Steve Austin of the UFC. And that's exactly what they used him for. They got exactly what they needed out of him, and it brought a lot of eyes.
Interesting. So you have a pro record of 7-2. 6 of those wins are by knockout, both losses by decision. So that's kind of interesting. So you're a great striker. Are you comfortable on the ground too? I mean, you have wrestling experience from high school, but you kind of pivoted into MMA. So what's your strength?
Yeah, on all honesty, is that, I would say that I'm a mixed martial artist. And I've developed that more and more with my time off. I have a lot of power in my hands. I have a more comfortability standing up, and it's just I love to stand up and fight. It's a striking game. It's an excitement game, and I bring a lot of excitement when I stand up with people. But
Smart.
I have a lot of how would you say, like, a lot more to offer to the fans. I'm always been so stuck on this is what they want and this is what I'm going to do. And I avoided my MMA game, like my full MMA game. I went to straight striking or boxing a tie and try to knock people out. But if you look, like, I do have submission game. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a long time, and my submission game is a lot better than my striking game. But I've just been so one track minded because people, right? Like,
Right.
people want excitement. And if you're not excited, you're not going to get it. I wouldn't have gotten on the Contender Series if I got a submission. Like, I wouldn't have gotten the contract if I got a submission. I got the contract because I knocked out Cameron Olson in 66 seconds. I got the opportunity on Contender Series. I got the contract because I knocked out Phil Haas with a head kick, a devastating head kick right in front of Dana. Like, that's what won. The kid before me had a 25-second finish, and it was a submission finish. He didn't get the contract because it was a submission finish.
See, you are very smart. I remember even talking to you in Vegas, and we were talking about monetizing the show and doing different things to generate income. And it was impressive. Like, you're 30 years old. You have 9 pro fights under your belt. You've had this 2-year-long injury that's kept you out of the game, but it hasn't stopped you from thinking and strategizing. And I think that's going to work in your favor in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you don't sit on the IR list and do nothing. I sat there during this whole time I've been out, and I've been asking questions. I've been talking to the right people. I've been, interviewing people at the UFC PI, like, legitimately, to figure out, like, the who, what, where's, and whys, about everything from apparel to the food that we put in our body, to the food or the cafeteria, how they handle their stuff there, to the security team. Like, I understand a lot more about the business, and I understand a lot more about myself because of doing all those questions and, building it up. So, like I said, I'm pretty excited for when I can return,
Yeah. And that's soon. So, okay. I do want to talk about your transformation in terms of, like, weight gain to weight loss, because January is the month of the year where we get super pumped and think that we're going to, get abs this year and myself, I'm in stretchy pants right now, by the way.
Let's go.
But
them Lululemons. I see it. I like those. Those are good.
Thank you. But, I think that your story it can be inspiring for people, and myself included. So how much did you put on? I did the math in terms of your posts, and it looks like you put on, like, somewhere between 55 to 65 pounds.
Oh, I put on a ridiculous amount. When I first was injured, I was still in the gym doing everything. I was still walking around 215. This was right after surgery in 2018. And then, after, starting to work through it and going through a lot of pain, like, my recovery process was not nice. It was tough. Like, Heather Linden was on the first part of the PT for my arm. And I had to go through multiple PTs. It wasn't just one, but she was on the first part, and she would literally have to grab my arm and almost, like, just joint manipulation, like, push down as hard as you can, like, try to hyperextend my arm, because it was just stuck. It would only lift up like this high. So to lift up, I wouldn't go any higher. So she would literally have to almost, like, re-break my arm because it was stuck. I developed frozen shoulder. So, like, the first 6 months I was still doing good and working out, but 6 months of hearing, going to the doctors a couple times and hearing, well, it's going to be a little bit longer. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's happening. Then after that, like, hearing that so many times, like, right in January in 2019, I kind of was like, yo, fuck this, man. I'm going to eat whatever. I'm going to enjoy my time. So I just kind of started eating and falling in love with food and sorrow. And then come to find out in 2019, they're like, hey, we got to go back in. We don't know what's wrong with your shoulder. We're going to go do another surgery and try to clean it out. They go in, they do their surgery, and again, still depressed, still like, like what's going on? Second surgery goes done, go a couple months later, have to go back to the same doctor. And he looks at you and he's like, man, he ended up telling me like, hey, you might have to look for a different profession. And I was just like, oh shit. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, this is like your identity at this point.
Absolutely. And it was just like, it was a huge hit. Like I just got into the UFC. I got exactly what I've been trying to do. I'm on the path that I want. And I end up getting hit with this, absolutely one of one rare surgery and injury in the UFC. And it's not healing right. It's not going right. And, the doctor finally tells me, he's like, oh, you might have to look for something else. And it hit hard. So during that, like I'm eating up. This time I'm already at 230. And this is in 2019. I'm at 230. And I kind of just like, all right, well, we're going to try this next thing that he wanted to do. It's like a stem cell PRP. And he's like, we're going to do this. And, we'll see what we can do. But other than that, I don't know what else we can do. So a couple months go by and it's like November of 2019. And I like legitimately was just like, I was still like 235, 240 and just eating as much as I can, trying to go on diets, but I'm just not motivated because what are you going to do?
For what?
Yeah. Like at the end of the day, like I can barely move my arm. I can't really lift. I can't go, do jujitsu. I can't do MMA. I have to sit there and go to work every day. And it just sucked. It was terrible.
What were you doing for work?
I was working at Topgolf.
Okay.
I worked at Topgolf. I was a server or what they call a bay host. And, don't get me wrong. Like I'm a awesome worker, like working's easy, but it just stinks because in like the service industry, there's so much negative that goes around it. And so much like, it's the one place where you can bust your ass and not get acknowledged and feel like underappreciated on top of just like all bad news. Like it was a rough time. It definitely was rough. I wouldn't say, I don't want to use the word depressed because I never was depressed to the point where like I was isolated and just didn't want to talk to anybody, but I definitely was just like, I felt more sorry for myself and just like didn't care. And then in January of 2020, I'm like, all right, well,
new year.
Yeah, it's a new year. Like I got to lose this weight. And I'm sitting around like 240 and I'm a big boy. And, all these different cool foods come out. I'm working a lot and I'm just even more stressed out, running thin, trying to do a whole bunch of stuff that I can. I was working with the UFC at the time. I created a Twitch stream for the UFC.
Nice.
I was hosting that every Tuesday. So I was just like, I was on the go, always doing everything, like trying to figure stuff out to the point where I wasn't even working out, wasn't doing anything. And then all of a sudden my arm snapped back and just worked. I woke up one day and it would just like,
stop it.
It went up and I was like, what the fuck? I went to Heather. And I was like, look at this. And she was like, we're going to talk to the doctor. Let's see if we can get you cleared. And I got cleared in like January, like the end of January. So I'm like, let's go. But at this time I'm like 250.
Okay.
I'm 250. And I'm like, oh shit, I fight at 185. Like I'm a fat fuck right now. And everyone knew it. I knew it. They just kind of got accepted to it. Like at the beginning, everybody was like pushing me and going. And then they kind of just realized like, you can't really push this dude. Like he's not like, I wasn't listening to them, even though they tried to help as much as they could. But, I was like, all right, well, I got to figure it out. start getting on a good little path, start working out, start doing everything good. And then boom, the pandemic hit.
Right. My God.
Just fucking smacked. And, everyone was freaked out at the pandemic, right?
Yes.
We were just like, oh, what's going on? Like this closed down, that closed down, this closed down. These gyms are closed down. You can't do this. So like, I'm trying to work out at my house and do stuff, but I'm also cooking for myself. And sometimes Postmates is a little easier.
Right.
And then, so that went through that. And then, and like February, March time, Eric Anders gave me a call and asked me to come out and train with him. He's like, we're still training. We got this. Vegas was closed down. No one was training. Like it was only like little by little.
Yeah.
So he flew me out to help him out for his fight camp when he was fighting Jocko. And I was out there for a few weeks. But when I stepped on the scale out there, I was high. I was almost 260. I was probably like way up there, 255. And we started working out with him. I started kind of getting the rhythm back again, the want. And then I ended up, he ended up having his fight. I came back to Vegas, but I needed something more. So I called James Krause up and I was like, hey, is it cool if I come and train with you guys for a while? Like, he goes, yeah, man, come on up. And I flew out to Kansas City and just kind of stayed with my dad and started training with them and working out. And then I asked James, like, hey, man, like, can I be a part of the team again? We sat down. He's like, look, this is where we're at. This is what we need to do. What are you willing to do? Like, he's not going to just he's not just accepting you to come in and then just leave when you want. Like,
right.
We sat down, we had a like legit conversation. What do you want, Julian? What are you looking for? What's your weight at? How are we going to get it down there? What's our approach? Like basically going through here is like, these are what you're going to have to do. He's like, I'll give you like a 2-week trial. And based upon that workout and the 2 weeks are based upon your attentiveness and your will and want in the room, I'll let you know if you can be on the team. So basically I had a tryout and I busted my ass. And the moment after that 2 weeks, he's like, all right. He goes, this is what you're going to do. Call Tyler Minton. So I've worked with Tyler on my weight cuts for a long time. And Tyler and I talked and James, and literally we had an accountability deal. At the time, I think it was like 240. I lost a little bit of weight, working out, doing all that stuff.
A little bit. You lost 15 pounds, but you're like, But I guess at that point, that's the first weight to come off is kind of the easiest, right?
Yeah. No, for sure.
Hardest, but it flies off.
Yeah, it's super easy. I mean, I lost a good amount, like just by working out. And James was even, you can ask him if you ever do an interview with him, is that he was actually really shocked of how in shape I was by, like, if you looked at me, like I didn't look like I had cardio at all. Uh-huh. And then, he's like, okay, like you actually came in a lot better shape than I thought. But I was just,
because you were walking around as a server, you were moving still. Yeah,
I was just a heavy guy, but I still had it. Like I still could move my body, Yeah. And I literally, it was a tough little cut. I accepted what I needed to do. I know what I needed to do. I wanted to get this done. So Tyler Minton gave me a meal plan. James Krause, I actually lived with James Krause for like 2.5 months. And literally every day I'd have to take a photo of my weight. I'd be at practice. I had to do everything. Like I literally had to ask him for everything. Like he legit held me accountable for a lot. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of stuff that I did for them and what he did for me and Tyler. And every week we talk, if I was up on weight, why are you up a couple pounds? Well, I just drank this much water at night. Okay. What here? And like, we'd have arguments, like sometimes I would be eating, but they're like, yo, you're not doing this. So anyways, I go all the way to my first fight. Like this is in July is when we start getting on that, or June. And then our first fight's supposed to be August 14th. That's my return fight with Saparov. Every day, literally that whole entire time I was living at James' house, seeing him every day, training, doing everything, following up with him, meal plan, talking to him every day, eating everything, weighing everything to the gram. And we're like a week, 10 days out from the fight. And I was 203. Mm-hmm. So the lightest I've ever been for a fight. And then we got the canceled fight. Like,
oh my God. So I met you the day before the fight got canceled.
that was the second fight.
That got canceled also. Oh, that was because he missed weight, the second one.
That was
okay,
the
let's go in
second
order.
fight.
Okay, continue. So the fight got canceled. Why?
Yeah, there was nothing. There's no reason. We just got the phone call, and it was canceled. So we were just like, oh shit. And then he's like, James came home and was like, he's like, so you want to go eat at this place? Like, there's this spot that I've been waiting to eat. It's called Hawaiian Brothers. It's like Hawaiian style pork and steaks and all stuff. And it's just rice. Just the number one thing you are unable to have. And you got to know, like, I went from, at the time with them, like around almost 245 ish, all the way down to 203, and from June to August. And,
oh my God, in 2 months.
It was a lot. So then I was like, I was scared to eat that.
Yes, I can imagine.
I was so scared to eat it. It wasn't that I was scared to eat it because, it was all this like filthy style food. It's healthier for the most part. It's just meat and rice, but I was scared to eat it because it wasn't part of the program. You know what I mean? So I was afraid to get back to where I was at again.
Yeah.
Like 240, 230, 220 even.
Right.
I worked my ass off for this. And then, so we canceled that, and they're like, hey, go ahead and just enjoy. Like, come on. Like, they gave me another little workout, and I still to this day have to give them my weight. Like, they won't let me not. They won't let me not, like, legit have a conversation. If I'm up 214, if I weigh 214, he's like, yo, what's going on? And I was like, well, I'm not in camp right now. And he's like, no, it's too high. We need you down 208. So basically, like, everything's on accountability, and that's where we're at right now. That's where I was at on the weight loss. Is just, if it wasn't for Tyler and James, like, literally holding me accountable and teaching me what accountability is, and teaching me to understand food and like control. That's what that was. This is kind of one thing that, like, I learned a little while I was losing my weight, and just kind of looking at my body, and like, I was, 250, and I didn't realize it. I didn't realize how fat I was until I saw a photo. I made the photo like a couple of weeks ago. I didn't realize how fat I was in January of last year. Like, legitimately, I was like, holy shit. Like, I was really that fat. Like, I didn't realize it was that big.
Right.
It didn't register until now. I'm like, holy crap. Like, that's a whole nother human.
Yeah. And that's how I know. Remember when we met, you were like looking at yourself or at a photo, and you're like, I'm just so skinny right now or something. And I had never met you before, so I didn't know, where you were. And to me, you're just like a fit fighter who has a fight in a few days. And then when I saw you post that photo where you're 60 pounds larger, I'm like, oh my God, now I get it.
It was insane. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. But like, when I was sitting there looking at it, I was like, oh man, I have messages to, Tyler, and I have messages to other nutritionists and the people that I've talked to. I was like, yo, like, I want to walk around 210. I want to walk around this. I'm going to be shredded. I'm going to be ripped. I'm going to look good. Blah, 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 blah. But I'm walking around 210. I'm walking right now. I think I'm like 205. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a six pack. I don't have.
You did when I met you.
Yeah. Well,
you were dehydrated too, but still.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, for sure. And I was real close to weight, like,
yeah,
I didn't even cut weight to make weight. That's how close to weight I was. But I was like, I had this envision in my head that, like, if I walked around 210, 205, that I would be like shredded. I would look like a Yoel Romero. I would look like, all these fighters with these, like, chiseled abs, and, I would look like the models that you would see, the male models that you'd see. And like, all these girls would be hollering at you on Instagram and sliding in your DMs. Like, I was like looking at that, and now it's like, I'm there, and it's like, bullshit. That's a fucking lie. Like, I wish I could eat everything and work out, but I fight at a weight class. Like, if I didn't fight in a weight class, I would work out and still eat what I want, but I'd know that, like, I won't be able to smash McDonald's every weekend. I won't be able to eat, like all these burgers every day. Like I wouldn't be able to do that. Like in moderation to my workout, like, you know, calories in, calories out, like on the work or on the workload, I would be able to keep the body that I have and be able to work out and feel comfortable. But to me, like I'd rather be like comfortable enough to where I can enjoy food, work out, and not have to worry about like my body being just as I was back in, you know, 2019, a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not even 2009, 2020, 2020 in June. Like I wouldn't want to be that guy again. But that's it. But like working out, if I have like a little stomach, like a little pudge, I'm cool with that. I think that's attractive as hell to myself. Like I think it's amazing.
Good. Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
I wish I had love handles, you know, not a
No,
lot,
you
but a
don't.
little bit. I don't mind it, you know, like.
Yeah, I don't mind it either. As a woman too, like, I don't know if I can speak for anyone else because I know my preference though, it doesn't matter to me if you have the abs or not. I don't mind a little bit of a dad bod, you know, I want someone that's healthy, you know?
Absolutely. And that's how it should be looked at, you know? And I feel like with TikTok and with Instagram, you know, people taking these photos and they see, like, there are people that are genetically gifted that have these bodies, or they, you know, pay for their body, you know,
Right.
to where they have implants or they have, you know, shots, liposuction, things like that to make their body look a lot better than what it used to be. And they don't put a lot of work into it, you know, and they're gorgeous, they're true, but a lot of those people aren't as awesome as, you know, normal people that work out,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you. And I mean, I'm not judging anyone who goes out there and modifies their body because I think people should live in a happy space for them. But, you know, the people who just kind of work and make exercise a part of their life and, you know, good eating habits, and they just seem to be more well-rounded.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, so I have a bunch, you know, a bunch of friends that are in the fitness realm, and a lot of people that are genetically gifted and a lot of people that are enhanced. And the people that they're real cool, they're awesome. But like when it comes down to when I mean like this, they sucked, is like those people that post on Instagram to become an influencer that are always posting this, they're always posting that. You know, the likes, they count the likes, that give them entitlement, and that entitlement creates them to have this perception of themselves that they're way better than, you know, anybody else. So then they judge you based upon your looks instead of accepting you for literally who you are. Like, you might have paid for your body or you might have done this, but people only like you because, yeah, you have a nice butt and a nice rack, but your personality turns out to be shitty. And the same thing with the guys, like, you take testosterone boosts or you take, you know, anabolics, and you are the way you are, but it's because of that. Yet the person that's trying to get there non-genetically, you're going to shut down. Like, that's what I found out. The higher the likes these people have, not all of them, but the majority of them, the higher the likes they have, the more shitty of a person they are to average people. And that's
Interesting.
That's what I don't like. Those are the reason why people are being body shamed, is by them. And that's how I see it. If I'm living in Vegas and seeing all the people that I've been around in Vegas and those fit bodies, would just kind of look at this guy, you know, put him on their TikTok while they're working out, like a big guy at the gym working out. You put him on the
I hate
TikTok.
that.
Look at this guy. Like,
That's so mean.
But that's the world we live in.
Yes, but I don't have to like it. My whole thing, you know, you're getting to know me a little bit. I love positivity and I love seeing people uplift other people and celebrating the goodness. You know, there's so much shit that we deal with on a daily basis. Why not? Like, why not, you know, try and like be the good in someone's day, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. And that's kind of how you have to be, you know, like, I don't see it any other way. If you have the power to change someone's like life, change their way they look at stuff, change the way they do things, just by being yourself and genuine, you know, why not? Why why only just be selfish? It makes no sense to me.
Mm. Okay. God, I want to ask you so much. I'm going to move topics. Now, we met right before your who was the last guy you were fighting? Wasn't
Same
that
guy,
Safarov?
Saparov. Yeah,
Okay.
Saparov, November 14th, I think it was.
Yeah. And then, sorry, my cat is in the studio and he really wants to join us. Stop it, buddy. um, okay. So how pissed were you that you had just dropped all this weight only to get the fight canceled because he didn't make weight?
I'm not, that doesn't bum me out. You know, like
Really?
it
Okay.
doesn't bum me out. Look, this is the thing is that like, I'm an athlete now. Where I was before, I wasn't an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a journey. Like, I lost all that weight all the way up for the first fight that was supposed to have August. I lost all that weight so fast to the point where like, I wasn't an athlete at the time when I started, and I became an athlete in, August. And then he pulled out. And then, at that time I'm low in weight and I'm like, all right, well, my last fight, I missed weight, by 4 or 5 pounds. So I'm like, oh, and then I ended up going there. I did everything I can control. I didn't have to focus on weight cut. I could focus on bettering myself as a fighter, leveling myself up, becoming more, cardiovascular, becoming more fighter IQ, more comfortable with the weight that I'm around, and just like being able to be an actual fighter. To the point when I got there to the fight week, I already made weight. I did exactly what the biggest thing that was hindering me for the past 2.5 years is that I missed weight, and my weight's been a big deal. And I made weight without even cutting any weight. I stepped on the scale and I was already 186. I took a photo of it. And
That must have felt amazing.
yeah, and that was the biggest fight of it all. That was everything. That one right there, it showed a lot. And like, yeah, I don't get to fight. I don't get to fight. I don't get to, make my return. I don't get to, enjoy that victory that I was anticipating to have on the 14th. I don't get that, but like, it's okay. Like it happens. It's part of life. Like,
Yeah.
if you look at fighters and, as weird as it is, we're product. We're a product for the UFC. Like, and sometimes you have bad products and sometimes things happen with the product and you can't get mad at a product failing. Like, all right, well, you just got to move on. You got to take it. Now, if it happened for 2 years in a row, like 7 fights in a row in the UFC, then it would be different. But like,
Yeah.
I accepted the fight. I accepted this. Something happened to him, he's cut now. His whole life, his opportunity, anything like that of making money, any of that stuff is gone. So like, he's got it worse than me.
He got released.
Yeah, he's released. They let him go. And then that's the thing with me is like, I won right there. Mentally, I won. My body won. And now I have another fight that I'm already still in shape for, that I've been training for. And like, again, that's 2 fights that I had that no one's ever got to see my new style, my new evolved me. Like, the only film you can watch is 2018 is the most recent film of my body in a fight. So like, you don't know nothing about me. And that's the most dangerous person in the whole entire world, is no one knows anything. They can't study film to be like, oh, this is what he's going to do. They don't know.
Right. That's a good point.
It's like, it didn't bother me. It didn't rub it off. I'm back in the training room, still working out. The same exact thing happened in November or in August. I was in the training room the week, literally the Monday after the fights. And again, I was in the gym the Monday after the fight, or that fight that was supposed to happen. Like, I have been in the gym ever since.
Okay, now your next fight, UFC 258 on February 13th against Maki Pitolo.
Yeah, Maki Pitolo.
Okay. Maki Pitolo. Okay, now he has 11 more fights under his belt than you. Does this experience concern you?
No, not at all. I fought, most people don't know this, but I fought, I think, 13 times as an amateur. So I have more amateur fights than most people like have like most of these guys like turn pro or have like 1 or 2 amateur fights and then go pro. I mean, if you look at it, I have over 20 fights, not including like, wrestling matches. And it doesn't really mean anything if you've fought that many more times. Like you have a little bit more experience in being in the cage, but you also have a little bit more experience losing. That's the way I look at it.
Right. That's true too. Okay. Now, is your fight going to be in Vegas or Fight Island?
I don't know. It might be in Vegas. Oh no, it's not in Fight Island for sure.
It's
But
not.
it might be in Vegas.
That's what I thought. Initially, it was projected that it would be out there, but now with the dates moving around, I think it'll be in Vegas too.
Yeah, I think it's in Vegas. But they haven't told me, so I'm just, cool. Like.
So this is going to be your first time fighting without an audience, or maybe we'll get lucky and there will be a limited audience. I know there's a limited audience in Abu Dhabi, but not in Vegas just yet. So thoughts?
Well, you got to remember, I fought on the Contender Series and like they had an audience, but it wasn't like an audience. There's like 25 people in that thing. And there's going to be 25 people there with, production, Dana. There probably might be some other people there, but all the people that work for the UFC. It doesn't matter. Like I don't hear the crowd. I can feel the energy for sure. I can tell you that much, but I don't hear them. When I fight, I hear who I need to hear, my coaches, the people in my corner. You're so hyper focused at that point that it's just a bonus to have the crowd there.
Oh, it's a bonus. Okay. Because some fighters that have been fighting throughout this pandemic have said that they actually prefer to fight without a crowd, less heckling, less distractions, and they can actually hear their corner clearly. I mean, it's so clear that like we can actually hear it when we're watching the fights, which I think is super cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I wanted to ask now, what's your preferred style of communication from your corner? Because sometimes we hear them being super aggressive and like just barking commands. And then sometimes we hear them being super supportive, and giving you that positive reinforcement and validation that you're doing a good job. So like what works for you?
It's really weird. I don't know. Cause like, I've had some great, terrible corners at the same time. Like I've had people like screaming on the top of their lungs. I had people trying to reach me and I'll tell this, like I've worked with James Krause. Like I started my career under James Krause, and he's always, for some reason, we've always had like a weird connection whenever he talks. And I could hear him throughout anybody. And even in Winnipeg, we were out there and there's 20,000 people. Winnipeg, Canada's the loudest place when it comes to fights. Like they're so loud. And I couldn't even hear my corner, but James was in the front row of like the deal and he was coaching me. Like he was there for Tim Elliott, but Tim Elliott's fight didn't happen. And James was telling me what to do from the front row. I couldn't even hear my corner, which was closer on the other side of the ring.
Wow.
They're both there, but I could hear James through 20,000 people. And he just sits there and talks to you. I mean, you've heard it. And, when I have that connection with somebody, it's like, it doesn't matter how it is. As long as you can tell me, we can play it like a video game. And as long as you're clear.
The trust is there.
Yeah, the trust is definitely there.
Yeah. Do you see a sports psychologist or someone like that to help you with visualization and kind of preparing yourself for all the pressures associated with fighting?
I used to see a sports psychologist, psychiatrist, like at the beginning, like of my professional career. And then it got to the point where it was almost like, I don't really need that. Like anything that was like daunting or anything that would like make me go down in the sport deal and I would forget about it and kind of move on. It would always feel like he was bringing it up, almost like I didn't have anything, that he was trying to reach for something and bringing back old issues that never really mattered. And we would sit there and talk about it. And like, to me, I think that if you keep talking about the same thing, even though you're over it, it just becomes fresh and it just becomes annoying. Right.
Yeah.
So like I kind of veered off of that. And then I started working with Dom, the hypnotist, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I think it was one of the first fighters he worked with. But, I do work with him a lot, especially during my camps, sometimes just removing certain things that, they need to be gone, with self-doubt. I wouldn't say self-doubt, because self-doubt is controllable, but like just little things like, why are you not waking up early? Why are you not, like, removing like little blocks that I have of dumb things. But when it comes to fighting, like, I don't really use anyone to get me mentally prepared, because this is who I am. This is where I want to be. Like, I've spent 2.5 years focusing on this moment that it's not, I don't see myself losing my mind or losing my motivation, my thoughts leading up to the fight because of a bad practice.
Right. And you've also, it's kind of good experience that you've had all the, I don't know, I'll just call them quote haters, from Kendra's side, and then from, whatever, like your social media experience basically has kind of toughened you and prepared you for the heckling and, what's to come. Cause, I talk to a lot of fighters about the pressures associated, and over and over, I hear the same thing. You can get 1,000 positive comments, but then that one asshole slides into your DMs or like leaves a mean comment on your page. And that's the one that sticks with you, and it gets in your head, and then it starts to eat at you. And,
Absolutely. No, it's very true. And that's the thing is, like, I learned a long time ago, I learned a long time ago to stop counting the likes. Stop reading the comments. Like, if you spend a lot of your time and energy on social media, and like reading and like listening to what people say, then it can alter your mentality. It definitely can. Like, if you're watching social media and looking at like people and like relationship couples, and like at the end of the year, how many of my friends would like literally tell me like they were hurting because they would see everyone giving the New Year's kisses and stuff, and they're single, and they were hurting because they were on their phone looking at other people having what they wanted. You know what I mean? Like, and that's something that, the social media can definitely hurt you. But like at the beginning of my social media career, I said to myself, I'm going to stop taking the comments for real. I'm going to stop like reading the comments. I'm going to stop looking at the likes. Cause there was a point in time you click on the like, and like, oh, who liked my photo? Oh, this fucking person didn't like my photo. I thought we were fucking friends, like, it got to the point where that person's like, oh, I didn't see your photo. Sorry.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you would literally create some sort of issue, problem, or something that happened to them because they didn't. It's like, but yeah, I think stopping social media and like taking it serious as people do, and the comments and stuff, like, you have control of that. You allow that person to get in your head with a negative comment. It's like, whatever,
Right.
So, yeah.
What fight are you most proud of?
I don't even know. Like, I wouldn't, all of them have their own unique, happiness. Like, this one that I have here is gonna be like, it's my return fight. I'm gonna be super happy here. Or the fight that when I moved from KC to Vegas and I get a win, after having a loss, or getting a contract on the Contender Series with a highlight reel head kick, put on Sports Center. Like, they all have their own like level of just honor and their own level of just happiness that I have towards them. But for me to say that I'm proud of it, like, I'm proud that this happened, it's like, it just doesn't work with me. Like, I'm proud of who I am and what I've done over the years. That's what I'm proud about. The fights are bonuses, but I'm proud of what this stuff has made me.
Okay. Yeah. You put in a lot of work, and you're proud of what you've achieved through that hard work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's a really good place to be, because then your happiness isn't contingent on the next fight and the next fight and what that's going to bring you. And it's going to advance your career and, more money and more this. Like, you're in control of your happiness basically. And your happiness is contingent on the effort you put in. And if you feel like you've done a good job, then you feel good about yourself. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, you go into a fight, you have to understand you have a 33.3% chance of winning, losing, or draw. Legitimately, like there's no, like, that's one of the options that are going to happen. Like you're either going to have your hand raised, you're not going to have your hand raised, or you're both going to walk off wondering, damn it, we're stuck, like it's not up or down. And it's like that, I have no control over that. So why am I going to sit there and put something on there? Like, am I going to spend the rest of my life trying to chase the same feeling that I had whenever I got the contract from the knockout on Contender Series? Like that feeling is a once in a lifetime type of feeling. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
I wouldn't put it on something that I can't control like that. I would only put it on myself because I can control who I am, and I have 100% control over what I do in the process. So, for me being proud of like losing my weight, me being proud of finding another gym, or going back home to a gym where it's helped elevate my game. Me being proud of the financial position I'm in over the years, and the understanding of what I've done with the fight game and with the money to keep me, afloat to where I'm not struggling. Like those are the things that make me proud, because that is who I am. And that is something that I have 100% control.
So conversely, is there a fight that you would do over again if you could, or you're saying you're good with your record as is?
Yeah. Like I can't, like, again, like if I could go back and go back with my fights that I lost, yeah, like it would be awesome, but it's not, why would I go back and try to change that? Because that's who it made me today. If you watch the Alessio fight, I believe I won it, but there was a judge that gave it to, the judges gave it to Alessio. One judge gave me all 3 rounds. Another judge gave me the second. Another judge gave me the third, so, it just, Alessio won the one and first and third in this judge's eye. And the other judge, he won the first and second. So it's like, I can't go and change their mind. I can't go and do that. And would my life be in the same position as it is now had I won that and been walking around off of a win? Would I have the same mentality? So it's like, no, I'll take that loss. That loss doesn't define who I am. It was just an event.
Yeah. Okay. I was looking through your Instagram and I noticed that we're following a lot of the same people.
Oh, let's go.
Let's go. Julian. Okay. So, and the people that I follow are, they've mostly all been on my show. So Uriah Hall.
Yeah.
Are you like actual friends with him or just Insta buds?
Oh no, me and Uriah. So before he moved to Texas and before all this stuff, like during my injury, I would always joke around with Uriah. Like we've trained with each other multiple times, but every time we see each other, it's always just a joke. We've gone hiking. We've had some deep conversations. He actually introduced me to this like legit Chinese sushi restaurant, like burrito restaurant in Vegas with like these sodas. They're like the sodas with the glass top. I can't think of the name off the top of my head right now, but like in order to drink it, it has a glass ball at the top and you have to like push the glass ball through.
Okay.
So it's a very unique soda, but yeah, no, him and I, like, that's my homie, dude. I love that guy. He's awesome.
Oh, that's sweet. He's a good guy. Yeah, we've stayed friends too. And he can get deep. So I can imagine if I were to get you two on a show together, I would probably just sit here like this.
Oh yeah. We've got, I mean, and we brought it out before because we both had to do, so I was in charge of the Twitch stream. Yeah. And like for the UFC. So I had to interview him on the Twitch stream and it was a hilarious interview. Him and I both going back and forth because we have a relationship. We always troll each other. And then on top of it, we had video games and like Uriah was just knocking me out left and right on UFC 3 with his character, another character, but I ended up knocking him out once. So then it got pretty exciting. Like we have some good memories.
Nice. All right. We got Max Griffin, Maurice Green, Cody Garbrandt, Johnny Walker, Jeff Neal, Jeremy Stevens, fighters, Nico Price, Matt Schnell, Puna and Cody haven't been on yet, but they will be. Ben Saunders as well, Drakkar Close, Eric, of course, Ian Heinisch, Juan Adams, Alex Perez, Anthony Smith, Mike Chiesa, Boss Rutan, Al Iaquinta. I mean, damn, that's a lot in common, actually. So we got a whole network between us.
Oh yeah, a bunch of fighters. A lot of those people a lot of those people were from like the UFC PI, like hung out with them, met them there. We have the same management, or we just kind of like bumped into each other over the years in training and just kind of like stuck around each other's side ever since. But
Nice.
yeah, I have a story with all those guys. Very, very unique stories with every one of them. And that's the cool part. This is the cool part is like, I feel like people have like stories, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I met this person and, we went out and had lunch. It was cool. Like I'm over here like, oh dude, I have some fucking stories, like I got to see the fun part of them.
Yeah. Some hangover stories.
Yeah. I wouldn't even put alcohol into it because I don't even drink, but yeah.
Oh, you don't?
No, but I've been around some of these fighters and some of these people with their, just when the camera's off, these guys are fun, and it sucks because like you can't really show your true colors on camera. Like you can, but like you can't really like open up all the way because again, you have to keep this character. So a lot of these people on there, they're professional. They keep it professional. But like when there's no camera rolling, they're clowns. They're funny. They're energetic. They're just wild. And we're all a bunch of kids that chose fighting as a career path. We're not, stockbrokers or, accountants. We punch people in the face for a living and we do a lot of funny things. And then we get to enjoy watching our job with our friends. It makes some good memories. It's
a real nice brotherhood for sure.
Absolutely.
I feel like I've gotten to know these guys genuinely just through the show. Cause this is kind of like it's not like an interview. It's a conversation, just talking about, getting to know you basically. And then, the people listening and watching love it because they get to see you, like in your natural habitat and just vibing. So absolutely. I'm glad we could chat today. Is that the Aura ring you're wearing or are you married?
No, I am not married. Okay. Fuck this thing, dude. I fucking hate this so much.
I did the same thing to Marvin Vittori. I was like, wait, are you married? I didn't see that in my research.
Well, this is the thing. This would like, it's annoying as hell. I loved Roman. So Roman Foreman is like one of the sports science guys at the UFC. I can't recall his title, but basically he's so fucking smart to the point where it's just ridiculous. I feel like my IQ is like a 2 when I'm next to him. Well, anyways, he has the Aura ring. And what he does, this thing tracks your sleep, your vitals, your readiness for training, if you're overtrained, all that stuff. But Roman will not give you a ring. And there's a lot of people that are on the same thing who will not give you a ring that fits anything else than your ring finger. And yeah. I'm not like an emo, like, hardcore punk guy that like has a middle finger ring. Like, I don't like that. So the only thing, it doesn't fit on this finger. It won't fit on my other finger at all, no matter how hard I try.
So you're stuck with the wedding band.
Oh my God. So I have to take this off when I go out, or I have to take it off like in the morning when I wake up. I like to take it off. Today I forgot. But legitimately, you know how many times there has been ruined dates?
I was going to say.
Oh my God, dude, you have no idea. Like, I'm like, oh, finally got her. We're going out on a date. And the next thing you know, I get a text message. What the fuck? What is this? It's an Aura ring. The fuck is an Aura ring? You're just like, oh, dude, come on, chill. This is this. They gave it to me. And I have to show them this video I made on the UFC. Basically, it's like, hey, the UFC asked me to marry him and gave me this ring.
That's so funny. It's on the UFC website too, where it was at some point. So, you have some sort of verification.
Yeah, it doesn't matter when a girl sees this ring on your finger, it's done. It doesn't matter. They think it's all an excuse. So I'm like, God, man, motherfucker.
Julian, you have been amazing. Give us your Instagram handle so people know how to find you.
My Instagram handle and Snapchat and Twitter are all J Marquez MMA. And if you like to follow me on TikTok, I need some help because no one follow. Like I have a lot of followers, but like I need more love. It's just I'm trying to be TikTok famous. It's J Marquez 185.
Okay, very good. Guys, you can find me at the Jenna Ben Show on Instagram and YouTube.